Our Casper Tyrant player starts to the left side of Abyssal City. We have starting for CJ Entus in red.
CJ Entus Bbyong.
Young looking good as usual, has his female fan club here as well.
Yeah, certainly does.
And to the right, his opponent, a former TSL player. TSL disbanded a few days ago. This is, of course,
GSL symbol.
Just like yesterday, we have the TSL coach in the studio supporting him. He's wearing the hoodie. He was recently put up on that ESF notice of teamless TSL players as well.
And Symbol, as I said, in Code S, he was defeated by Zerg players. He found himself in a very tough group with Life and Lenok, and these two just didn't leave him a chance. And well, can you really blame Symbol for losing in the group? He was up against the best Zerg players in Korea, he himself being, of course, one of the top contenders. But then he faced Baby in the Code A. And Baby played just so well. The mech player of Baby took Symbol down. Symbol didn't take a single map. He was really a little bit surprised by Baby's style and didn't know how exactly to handle it. Now he's back though, and I feel that he is one of those guys that most people expect to take one of the slots and go straight to Code S. But he has to prove himself against a Terran player, and Bbyong has certainly made a huge splash within the last few weeks and months.
Yeah, absolutely. He's one of the Terran players Caspa fans were really telling people to look out for because, you know, everyone was watching and saying, I'm not so sure about this guy, he seems like he has a lot of potential. Now his potential is definitely showing through. So on this map, I wonder if he has a specific strategy planned. He's definitely taken an earlier gas here, just one after his CC first, not going into the normal double barracks play that you see after Command Center first.
The last few games that Bbyong played against Zerg, he lost in the Pro League against Real, and he also lost against Jaedong. But when you talk about his Code A performance, he actually won against NST. This was this crazy best of 3 that we had going to all 3 maps, and NST versus Bbyong was definitely an interesting series. Yeah, now he's up against another ESF Zerg player, and Symbol, I don't know, I really want to... This group is... This group is giving me goosebumps.
It's giving me the chills too, man.
Symbol, DIG, you have Grubby in there, Bbyong first with his performance against Lucira, and Lucira as well. Lucira, you call him the wildcard player. For me, he's always this guy, you know, sometimes we see a performance of him, it's just incredible, it's amazing. What did we see in the GSL when we had LGIM versus TSL? Lucira nearly getting this all-kill, playing got the so awesome, and then suddenly it's Symbol who goes for the reverse all-kill. This group today has so much history, it's so exciting.
Yeah, I wonder if Lucira will be able to get his revenge today on Symbol, as they will eventually meet each other later in the group. This extractor block is very annoying for Bbyong, especially if he has any plans of going to mech play. Obviously, it's not going to slow down his factory, but he wants to take that second gas now, and with the cancel that you guys see, because this is something we don't see too often anymore, but if you see how he cancels it, make sure that the drone stays alive as long as possible.
On Abyssal City as a Zerg player, you have different choices. You can go for a very dominant mid-game play where you focus on Ling, Baneling, and Mutalisks. Mutalisks on this map are definitely a good choice because of the bases. You can bounce between them. You have a lot of ground that you can cover where the Terran player has a hard time defending. You can send Mutalisks into the main base, Zerglings into the third, all these things. Symbol, on the other hand, is not really a player that really likes to play Mutalisks as much as others. Let's say, for example, NST or Jaedong. So Symbol, more the Infestor type.
Yeah, he's more the Infestor type for sure. I would actually, if I had to pick one player to make his style similar to, I would either say Lenok or I would say Life. One of those two players, I feel like his style kind of blends in with theirs really nicely. More so than DRG or definitely like a player like NST.
Roachron now, as he takes his third base. We currently have him at his 36 Harvesters. This is a very TSL Zerg style. We had Hyun with openings like this too, where you get the Roach Warren, you want to be a little bit defensive, you want to have a few Roaches. And with this opening, this always is an opening that is very flexible, because depending on what you scout from your opponent, you can also go for timing attacks. You can go for this Roach attack, you can even go into Roach Baneling, which is not that common anymore. It really dominated the Terran versus Zerg matchup for a long time. But at this point in time, what we usually see is just the Roaches being used without too much aggression, but you still have the chance with this style of build order.
Yeah, it's very true, and he's making 7 Roaches right now. It's a bit more than you would see with the defense when he already has these Queens. He goes up to 8.
Look at Bbyong. Bbyong is going for 3 Marauders here now, so This is going to be...
It's a tricky strat.
This is a very tricky strat, and for Simple, it's great that he already has the Roach Warren. He needs it against the Hellions, and this is more of a pole timing that Bbyong is using now.
Yeah, and right now, the seeing of this strategy, the vision of this is so important. He doesn't have it, though. He's got a Marine patrolling to block the Overlord from going into the main, and the Overlord that's at the natural is just a little bit too far away to actually make the trip to see those barracks. So one thing we've seen Bbyong do is really hide his Mirage. None of them on the low ground. We've already seen players in this up and downs group this season fall into the trap of leaving their Mirage on the low ground getting spotted.
You know what's funny to me is that this is a strategy, a very similar strategy to what Polt did.
Yeah.
And Polt being a TSL player, which means that Symbol obviously played the strategy a long time, but look how carefully Bbyong is hiding all these Mirages, and oh wow, these Roaches are definitely going to be trapped. No way for them to escape. But now he's showing his hand. And how is Symbol going to react? Symbol, does he have sleep?
I don't believe so.
I don't think so.
I'm going to check that for you. He has not even started it. So this is a big concern because now the SCVs are coming, and he's shown his hand, yeah. But, I mean, it's kind of funny considering these two strategies. The strategy that Bbyong has chosen almost directly counters Symbols. He's desperately trying to make Roaches to fight against Marauders because he doesn't have a choice. He needs to make a few more Spine Cores. He does have a lot of Queens, but their energy is not really built up. He doesn't even have a single transfuser right now. By the time this gets here, he might have 3 to 5, but that's not going to be enough. He needs a little bit more spines. He needs more time. He needs to buy some time.
Yep. We have 110 supply for Symbol. The army supply is in his favor. It's actually really even. But now we have all these units coming in, and the SCVs are leading the charge here. But a great concave on top of the ramp. Here comes Bbyong with those Marauders. Stim is ready, and he's using it. The Roaches are there enough. The Queens are trying to transfuse. They don't have a lot of energy, but they're using it, and he is actually pushing him back.
Yeah, he has enough. I feel like Bbyong got slowed down a little bit by those Roaches earlier on, and that really hurt him here. Now, there's enough Roaches at the top to actually not only hold this, but push him back. Symbol doubles his supply. So many SCVs lost. 23 SCVs and 59 drones in total. Symbol is able to kill 17, and I think this is actually just game.
Symbol has done it. He has pushed Bbyong back, even those SCVs could not change the tides of the battle. And now suddenly Bbyong finds himself with 27 SCVs against a Zerg player on 63 Harvesters and 3 bases.
4th hatchery going up. He's got everything ready to just transition. He's got a Baneling Nest next.
I don't think the situation for Bbyong could be any worse.
No, I don't think so either. And it's Marauders against Roaches, so he will win this fight in the middle of the map, but that's so insignificant compared to everything else. The supply alone tells the tale at 102 against 58. Roach speed is starting. He's got the Baneling Nest.
3 hatcheries building now.
Yeah.
We have double expansion and a macro hatch. He has the lair tech ready. He's going for the Roach speed. He's getting every single upgrade in the book. He knows that he is so far ahead. And Bbyong, what can he do at this point? Can he really try to take a 3rd base? He's manning up a new army and might go for a 2nd attack, but right now he is in so much trouble. In the last fight he didn't even have concussive shells. It didn't actually matter, but this is definitely bad news for him.
Yeah, I mean, he's trying to use these Hellions to scout. He sees the base at the top, but seeing that base alone is not enough information for him. He's actually just starting concussive shells, which is a bit of an ironic situation. I think that would have helped him out slightly in the retreat of those Marauders at the very least when he was trying to get out of there. He still has a decent army supply, but compared to Symbols, it's just, I mean, he's going for an attack. The thing is, if he just had that army supply and he had another base and he was building up more barracks that he could afford, like he's getting double E-bays right now, that he doesn't have a 3rd command center to really support while he's trying to make these Marauders. He's trying to force this hatchery to go down.
What surprised me a little bit was this position that Bbyong decided to fight in. He went up the ramp into a concave and he felt confident enough that he could pull it off, but Symbol was too well positioned, did too much damage. And Bbyong had a nice idea here, but the creep spread was also very great for Symbol, which allowed him to chase the units down as Bbyong tried to retreat. And now, what can he do? He's trying to put on aggression because he realizes getting a 3rd base, probably not an option, but Symbol, he's just ready. He's 150 supply, doubling the supply, and we'll look at this production.
I know, just look at it, man, and he's got 13 drones on the way. These Marauders are kiting, but there's an Overlord here. He's got Roach speed, and he's on creep for just a second. Even the Ling's coming in here to try to slow him down, and Bbyong is going to lose the last of his Marauders, and he's probably just going to have to type out here. There's no transition point for him. GG.
Game over. Symbol with an early win in this game. An attack manned by Bbyong on 2 bases with Marauders and Hellions, but Symbol was ready without Zergling speed, completely relying on Roaches. Great concave on top of the ramp, and Bbyong just didn't stand a chance.
Not a chance in hell, man, against that concave and the transfuses that were available. thing is, if he tries to go around to the left side, there's already a ton of creep there, first of all, because Symbol's creep spread was so good, and it takes him a little bit longer to walk around when he's already short for time because he had to deal with those roaches that slowed him down. So what Symbol did, I feel, was actually very safe. It was almost like he used his roach attack to scout what Bbyong was doing, because he didn't overcommit to roaches, and that was not an attack that was even going to necessarily kill SCVs, but he gave him some map presence, and it let him know exactly what was coming.
You could really see that Bbyong was trying to hide the Marauders, but when these roaches came in, he had to move out with them, and this was the time that he chose to attack, as he's shown his cards. Bbyong loses, is down a game. Symbol is now on par with first, and we have our third best of one of the day. We have the foreign hope. Naniwa is currently in Sweden, so we have a new foreign hope in Korea. It is Grubby, and he is up against DRG.
He certainly is, man. This is going to be pretty cool because I feel like, based on what we saw out of Dongrygu in the Blizzard Cup, as well as even just watching him play his show match against Nesty for Heart of the Storm, just the recent games we've seen of him in Iron Squid as well. Dongrygu is absolutely in shape right now, and Grubby is getting a lot better in Korea. He's already a great, outstanding player. You see him in foreign events. This is his first time playing in a Korean tournament in Korea for StarCraft 2, and I gotta say, this is gonna be a tough match for him. It's his first set even, he's playing against the final boss.
And it's also a very tough map for him. It's Antigua Shipyard, and we're going to talk about his strategies in a little bit, but I've seen him while he was here preparing a lot for this map in particular, and he went through different phases, different types of strategies that he tried. He got a lot of inspiration by watching VODs from the GSL, from Pro League, from foreign tournaments, tried to watch what the Korean Protoss players these days try to do against Zergs, and in particular against DRG. Hero had a series that he played against Dongrygu where he went into a double Stargate opening, which is also the strategy that Grubby toyed around with. He had a lot of things that he tried out, and he came up with an idea of what he wants to do here, what he felt safe with. But now we're just waiting for the two of them to get ready. You could see Grubby in the booth just talking to one of the admins. The same is true for DRG. They're setting up their gear. This is of course the third set, so they had very little time to prepare for this, as the game between Symbol and Bbyong didn't really last that long.
Yeah, not too long at all. So, you know, we have 4 booths here. We set the global standard. We got 6 players in this group, though, so you have to have some shuffling around. Nobody can stay in the booth for too long. The map Antigua Shipyard, let's talk about that a little bit just for how it works out. Usually for the Zerg player taking his third, it gets a little bit rough. There's a lot of really cool 2-base timing attacks. You see even double Stargate's really good on this map like you were talking about before. But once that third base is secure, then the Protoss has to take his, which becomes a little bit more difficult, but it can be done. The fourth base for the Protoss is very difficult on this map, though. You either have to take the once, originally gold base, that center base, or try to take a hidden base, which, if it gets scouted, there's no way you can defend.
One of the big problems as a Protoss is if you take this third base, you have this one... a few, like 2 minutes timing window where Zerg can attack, where he can pressure. So you have to come up with some kind of strategy how you're going to defend. Because the Zerg player can do a lot. He can go for a very strong roach push. He can try to just support that with Zerglings. He can go for this drop play into the main base with Roaches and at the third as well. So you need to have Blink ready, you want to have a few Immortals to deal with this, and as long as you are able to set everything up, then you can transition into the late game. But that only gets you so far, because still Broodlords are very, very strong on this map, in particular if you hit good timing. So the Zerg player can do a lot if he's able to keep his third safe. And this is what most Zergs struggle a little bit with. A lot of Protoss players trying to hit the timings to take this third out as fast as possible.
Yeah, that's really what we may see here. I'm really curious because Dongrygu can be an aggressive Zerg on this map in particular. We've seen it before, and I'm not actually sure what we're going to see here. We've seen all sorts of crazy games and up and downs. I think it was Dongrygu, was it against Genius in an up and down group where one player was attacking the rocks with Stalkers and the Roaches just came in and killed all the Stalkers and the game ended.
I don't know who it was, but I remember the situation.
Yeah, weird stuff can happen on this map. Anything really can. In the late game, oftentimes you can have crazy base trade situations as well.
Yeah, we had, especially when Mana was playing in the up and downs, he was playing against Tian. And that was a very, very interesting situation that we had where both of them were just going crazy. So very interesting games that we had in the up and downs, and of course this being a best of one format always lends itself to special strategies being developed, because you know upfront what opponent you face and you know the map. So you can prepare for a strategy, you can analyze your opponent's play, and this goes as far, for example, when Grubby was staying at my apartment, we looked at a lot of videos and a lot of VODs from DRG, and one of the things that we also paid attention to while we're toying around with strategies that he could play was the overlord positioning of DRG on this particular map. Like, for example, if you want to go for a proxy, Hero mentioned before, he played one of those 2 Stargates, he proxied it.
Yeah.
So you need to analyze where does DRG usually position his overlords.
Because if you know that, then that's where you know
Exactly.
where the best place to hide is.
Where can I hide the second Stargate? Where can I hide another sort of proxy play? What could I actually do to win here?
If you hide, you could hide potentially a Dark Shrine, for example.
Exactly. So whatever you do, you need to know exactly where your opponent positions the overlords if you want to do it. You also try to see what scouting pattern does he use for the main base. Where does he position the 2 overlords to get into the main? Does he change it up a little bit compared to other Zerg players? Can I use this position to just hide my tech a little bit? Very, very difficult to pull off. So that's all these things that you try to keep in mind. And one of the things that we also have to talk about is how serious do these Korean players take Grubby in this group?
Yeah, that's really important as well because he's got 2 Pros opponents to look at in this group. So you have to practice for Pros in general.
Yeah.
But when you think about which one is someone you were probably more scared of, most Koreans I think would look at first and say, well, he's a little bit more scary than Grubby. But at the same time, it's harder to prepare for Grubby even because he doesn't have as many VODs that you can watch. If you're a Korean, you want to watch international stream VODs, yeah, you can find them, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult for you because you don't speak English, you don't know the websites to look at necessarily, you know, you're trying to find them on PlayXP and this is a game, you can't find it, you don't know what to do.
You have limited time.
Yeah.
And you need to think about, okay, who are my toughest opponents in this group? Who do I have to beat? Who is the player that I have to prepare for the most? And do you really pick Grubby to spend most of the time preparing for the strategies? Even if you find the VODs, do you analyze his play to this extent, or are you just confident in your abilities to win on a certain map against the race rather than the player itself? Because you assume that you have the superior mechanics, that you have the superior macro and micro. That's all things that have to be considered here. And this is also advice that FXO gave Grubby.
Yeah.
When he came over to the team house, he talked to them a lot and they gave him a lot of tips. Choi was actually the one who always told him, okay, now you play against this player. You play against Whale, you play against Sirius, you train with Gumiho. Or he just told him, well, you need to get faster. You're a little bit too slow right now. Go and play ladder. Let that up for the next few hours. And Grubby was happy for that because he's a player who wants to play a lot and he wants to practice and he doesn't want to have any regrets then later on. So he was really happy for how the FXO team just welcomed him and how they integrated him into the training schedule. But right now, with all this preparation that he put into this group and that others might not have been preparing for him, might give him a match here.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I want to bring up an example talking about that. Look at how well Mana prepared for his group when he was in the up and downs, and he was the only foreigner to ever get out of an up and down group ever. Another Pros player lived in the GOM house, and just being in Korea, not even in a Korean team house, but being in the GOM house and having a great practice schedule and playing on the Korean server and preparing so specifically for his opponents, you know, his game against Keen really comes to mind on Ohana. When you see that type of preparation in a player, people, the Koreans in the group are like looking at it going, whoa, this guy is actually, he's ready.
You know, the comparison between Mana and Grubby is, I feel, a good one, because Mana is one of these players who is really determined too. So he put a lot of effort in. He was practicing the entire time. He wasn't distracted. When he had a game coming up, he was practicing the entire time, trying to prepare for his opponents. And in this aspect, he's very, very similar to Grubby. I actually told him once that I feel that he's a bit like Grubby was at the same age. He's like a younger version of him, which is really funny now that we're talking about both of them. Because they have the same dedication going into these games. Grubby had this with Warcraft 3, he now has it with StarCraft 2, and now he joined the lobby.
I know, I dropped my mouse over it even.
Didn't I tell you yesterday he's going to pick green? There we have him.
There he is,
green
man.
for Grubby and blue for DRG. Oh, but he has to pick red apparently. They told him for the colors. Yeah. DRG is actually lying here.
Oh, look at that. Yesterday they got to pick colors, but today he told him to pick red.
Yeah, he went for green immediately when he was joining the lobby, and now he has to pick red. That's unfortunate for him. Well, they're both ready now.
They're both ready. Red and ready, except Donger goes blue. So we should be starting actually pretty soon. And the map, as mentioned before, if you guys forgot, Antigua Shipyard, this is going to be intense.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be very, very intense. I'm certainly psyched. Jong Ragu to the right and Grubby to the left here. Let's see if our foreign Protoss player can do it. Is the foreign hope ready for this up and down group? Antigua Shipyard is our first map today. It's the Protoss versus Zerg. Grubby has to face 3 of them, and the final boss is the first one that he has to deal with. Antigua Shipyard is loading, and Wolf, I'm so excited for this match. Let's see how Grubby can fare in this first game.
Let's see how Dornigu can do as well, man. He's got a lot to prove. He did well in the Blizzard Cup, but otherwise he has not been the dominant force that you might expect to see from the final boss, the Master Zerg. He's let his emotions get the better of him in the past. Has he overcome it? Can he get back into Code S? Let's find out right now here at the GSL Up and Downs, cast by Counter and Wolf.